Thank you so much for taking the time to come speak with us today, Maharaj.
Sure.
The floor is yours.
All right. I will begin by singing the Mangala Charana prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then we will speak about today's special event, which is Balarama Rasa-yatra, Lord Balaram's own rasa dance in Vrindavan with his own set of gopis. Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsta Shri Yupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Visham Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Namaste Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai-Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, my dear devotees, I thank you all for joining. Those of you on Zoom, I request you as far as possible to turn on your cameras so we can see your moon-like faces on this full moon day of Balarama Rasa-yatra. Before we speak about the specific pastime of Balarama Rasa-yatra, I will discuss a little about Lord Balaram. As we know from revealed scripture, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his first expansion is Lord Balaram. As such, Lord Balaram is the original spiritual master. The spiritual master gives knowledge of Krishna and also renders service to Krishna. And Lord Balaram does both. In Kali Yuga, Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya and Balaram comes as Lord Nityananda, who is renowned for his extreme mercy, and therefore we take shelter of Lord Nityananda, Balaram, and his dear empowered representative, Srila Prabhupada. So, although, of course, Krishna is eternal and Balaram is eternal, they have their appearance pastimes, and about 5,000 years ago, they appeared in Mathura or Vrindavan. And at that time, there was a name-giving ceremony conducted in the cowshed of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, because Nanda Maharaj was afraid of Kamsa sending demons to kill Krishna and Balaram. Of course, no one can kill Krishna or Balaram, but out of paternal affection, Nanda Maharaj was protective of Krishna and Balaram. And so as not to call attention to their presence in Vrindavan, he held the name-giving ceremonies in secret in a cowshed. So I will read one and the you could say family priest who was called to give the name-giving ceremony was Gargamuni. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Text 11. To save time, I'll just read the English. Shukadev Goswami continued, having thus been especially requested by Nanda Maharaj to do that which he already desired to do, Gargamuni performed the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram in a solitary place. Text 12. Gargamuni said, this child, the son of Rohini, will give all happiness to his relatives and friends by his transcendental qualities. Therefore, he will be known as Rama. Rama means, you could say, pleasure or enjoyment, and so because he will give pleasure to his relatives and friends, he would be known as Rama. And because he will manifest extraordinary bodily strength, he will also be known as Bala. So the name Balaram is a combination of those two aspects of Balaram. Rama, the pleasure that he gives and enjoys, and Bala, the strength that he manifests. Moreover, because he unites two families, Vasudev's family and the family of Nanda Maharaj, he will be known as Sankarshan. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Baladev was actually the son of Devaki, but he was transferred from Devaki's womb to that of Rohini. This fact was not disclosed. According to a statement in the Harivamsa, Pratyuvacha tato Rama sarvam stan abhitastitan yadaveshapi sarveshu bhavanto bhamavalabha. Gargamuni did disclose to Nanda Maharaj that Balaram would be known as Shankarshan because of uniting two families, the Yadu Vamsa and the Vamsa of Nanda Maharaj, one of which was known as Kshatriya and the other as Vaishya. So please listen to this next fact, which is very interesting. Both families had the same original forefather. The only difference being that Nanda Maharaj was born of a Vaishya wife, whereas Vasudeva was born of a Kshatriya wife. Later, Nanda Maharaj married a Vaishya wife, and Vasudeva married a Kshatriya wife. So although the families of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva both came from the same father, they were divided as Kshatriya and Vaishya. Now Baladev united them, and therefore he was known as Shankarshan. So now we will come to today's celebration of Sri Balarama Rasa-yatra, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 65. Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. Lord Balaram was so affectionate to the residents of Vrindavan and so concerned about their welfare that he came to Vrindavan to visit them, even at the cost of leaving his beloved younger brother, Krishna, which was not an easy thing to do, but still, Lord Balaram did it out of his love for the residents of Vrindavan. When he arrived in Vrindavan, he was greeted by Nanda and Yashoda. And then eventually he met the gopis, who were lamenting in separation from Krishna. Of course, when I say lamenting in separation from Krishna, I refer to a transcendental, ecstatic emotion. It is nothing like our material lamentation in separation. And he presented to them various messages from Krishna to pacify them and encourage them. So I'll begin reading here with text 15. Iti prahasitam shorer jalpitam charuvikshitam katim prema pravishangam smartantyo rurudu striya. While speaking these words, the young cowherd women remembered Lord Sauri's laughter, his pleasing conversations with them, his attractive glances, his style of walking, and his loving embraces. Thus they began to cry. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments as follows. The gopis thought the Krishna moon after piercing our hearts with the darts of his nectarian laughter, went away. So how will the city women, means the women in Mathura, where Krishna went from Vrindavan, so how will the city women not die when he does the same to them? Overwhelmed with these thoughts, the young cowherd girls began to cry, even in the presence of Sri Baladev. Text 16. Shankarshanas ta Krishnasya Sandesha Hridayam Gamai Sandvayam Asha Bhagavan Nanu Nanaya Kovida. The Supreme Lord Balaram, the attractor of all, being expert at various kinds of conciliation, consoled the gopis by relaying to them the confidential messages Lord Krishna had sent with him. These messages deeply touched the gopis' hearts. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the following verse from Sri Vishnu Purana 5:24-20, which describes the messages Lord Balaram brought from Krishna for the gopis. Sandeshai Samabadurai Prema Gara Baragarbi Ramena Vasita Gopya Krishna Syati Manoharai. Lord Balaram consoled the gopis by giving them Lord Krishna's most charming messages, which expressed sweet conciliation, which were inspired by his pure love for them, and which were without a tinge of pride. Srila Jiva Goswami also comments that the use of the name Shankarshan here implies that Balaram attracted Lord Krishna to appear in his mind, and in this way showed Sri Krishna to the gopis. Thus, Balaram consoled Sri Krishna's beloved girlfriends. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Lord Krishna sent various messages. Some instructed the gopis in transcendental knowledge, others were conciliatory, and still others revealed the Lord's power. Besides its given meaning, the word Hridayam Gamai also indicates that these messages were confidential. Text 17. Now we come to today's celebration of Balarama Rasa-yatra. Lord Balaram, the personality of Godhead, resided there for the 2 months of Madhu and Madhava, and during the nights he gave his cowherd girlfriends conjugal pleasure. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami states that the gopis who enjoyed conjugal affairs with Sri Balaram during his visit to Gokul had not taken part in Sri Krishna's rasa dance, being too young at the time. Srila Jiva Goswami confirms this statement by quoting a phrase from the Bhagavatam 10:15-8, Gopyon Tarena Bujayo, which indicates that there are particular gopis who act as Lord Balaram's girlfriends. Furthermore, Jiva Goswami states that during the holy festivities celebrated when Krishna killed Shankachuda, the gopis Balaram enjoyed with were different from the ones Lord Krishna enjoyed with. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur agrees with this explanation. So, yes, it's natural. It's natural. Krishna has his gopis with whom he dances, and Balaram has his gopis with whom he dances. But everything in Vrindavan is full of love. Love for Krishna, love for Balaram, and love for all of the residents of Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, everything is conscious and full of love for Krishna. The trees, the birds, the beasts, the bumblebees, they're all fully conscious, Krishna conscious, and full of love for Krishna. And Vrindavan is our ultimate goal. We also want to develop love for Krishna, like the residents of Vrindavan, and join Krishna in his loving pastimes in Vrindavan. Text 18. In the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna River. The garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon. It is full moon today. This garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by breezes bearing the fragrance of night blooming lotuses. So it's a very pleasant atmosphere. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Lord Balaram's conjugal pastimes took place in a small forest alongside the Yamuna, a place known as Sri Rama Ghat, which is far from the site of Sri Krishna's Rasa dance. Text 19. Sent by the demigod Varuna. Varuna is the demigod in charge of waters. Sent by the demigod Varuna, the divine Varuni liquor flowed from a tree hollow and made the entire forest even more fragrant with its sweet aroma. Purport. Srila Giriraj Swami explains that Varuni is a liquor distilled from honey. Sometimes in our festivals for Lord Balaram, we make a version of Varuni from honey. Srila Giriraj Swami explains that Varuni is a liquor distilled from honey. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that the goddess Varuni, the daughter of Varuna, is the presiding deity of that particular divine liquor. The Acharya also quotes the following statement from Sri Harivamsa. Samipam prestapitra varunena tavangnaga. Here the goddess Varuni says to Lord Balaram, "My father, Varuna, has sent me to you, O sinless one." Text 20. The wind carried to Balaram the fragrance of that flood of sweet liquor. And when he smelled it, he went to the tree. There, he and his female companions drank. Text 21. As the Gandharvas sang his glories, the Gandharvas are residents of a higher planet, and they sing very beautifully. So they were aware of Lord Balaram's activities on earth. As the Gandharvas sang his glories, Lord Balaram enjoyed within the brilliant circle of young women. He appeared just like Indra's elephant, the lordly Airavata, enjoying in the company of she-elephants. At that time, kettle drums resounded in the sky. The Gandharvas joyfully rained down flowers, and the great sages praised Lord Balaram's heroic deeds. Text 23. As his deeds were sung, Lord Haliyuda, it's the name for Lord Balaram, means the holder of the plow. As his deeds were sung, Lord Halayuda wandered as if inebriated. That means intoxicated, as if intoxicated. As his deeds were sung, Lord Halayuda wandered as if inebriated by among the various forests with his girlfriends. His eyes rolled from the effects of the liquor. Text 24 and 25. Intoxicated with joy, Lord Balaram sported flower garlands, including the famous Vaijayanti. He wore a single earring, and beads of perspiration decorated his smiling lotus face like snowflakes. The Lord then summoned the Yamuna River so that he could play in her waters. But she disregarded his command, thinking he was drunk. This angered Balaram, and he began dragging the river with the tip of his plow. Text 26. Lord Balaram said, "O sinful one, disrespecting me, you do not come when I call you, but rather move only by your own whim. Therefore, with the tip of my plow, I shall bring you here in 100 streams." Text 27. Shukadeva Goswami continued, "Thus scolded by the Lord, O king, the frightened river goddess Yamuna came and fell at the feet of Sri Balaram, the beloved descendant of Yadu. Trembling, she spoke to him the following words. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the goddess who appeared before Lord Balaram is an expansion of Srimati Kalindi, one of Lord Krishna's queens in Dwarka. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti confirms that she is an expansion of Kalindi, not Kalindi herself. This is very interesting. Another name for the Yamuna River is the Kalindi. But the original Kalindi is associated with Krishna, and the Kalindi who came before Lord Balaram was an expansion of the original Kalindi. But an expansion means in essence they're the same, but not exactly the same, because one is the original and the other is the expansion. Srila Jiva Goswami also gives evidence from Sri Harivamsa in the statement Pratyuvacharna Vamvadum that goddess Yamuna is the wife of the ocean. The Harivamsa therefore also refers to her as Sagarangana. Text 28. Goddess Yamuna said, Rama, Rama, Mahabaho, Rama, Rama, Almighty Armed One, I know nothing of your prowess. With a single portion of yourself, you hold up the earth, O Lord of the universe. Purport. The phrase Ekam Sena, with a single portion, refers to the Lord's expansion of Shesha. This is confirmed by the Acharyas. So the Yamuna is realizing who Lord Balaram is and praising his prowess. Text 29. My Lord, please release me. O soul of the universe, I didn't understand your position as the Supreme Godhead. But now I have surrendered unto you, and you are always kind to your devotees. This is instructive for us because we may also make mistakes in devotional service for which we need to repent and beg forgiveness. But if we do so, sincerely and honestly, we can depend on the Lord's mercy. We can expect the Lord's mercy and depend on the Lord's mercy, as Yamuna did here. So I'll read her prayer to the Lord again, because it is very blissful and very instructive. My Lord, please release me. O soul of the universe, I didn't understand your position as the Supreme Godhead. But now I have surrendered unto you, and you are always kind to your devotees. Text 30. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thereupon, Lord Balaram released the Yamuna, and like the king of the elephants with his entourage of she-elephants, entered the river's water with his female companions. Text 31. The Lord played in the water to his full satisfaction, and when he came out, goddess Kanti presented him with blue garments, precious ornaments, and a brilliant necklace. Now, who is goddess Kanti? Purport. Srila Giriraj Swami quotes from the Vishnu Purana to show that the goddess Kanti mentioned here is actually Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Varuna prahita chasmai malam amlana pankajam samudragde tatavastre nile lakshmir ayachata. Sent by Varuna, goddess Lakshmi then presented Balaram with a garland of unfading lotuses and a pair of garments colored blue like the ocean. The great Bhagavatam commentator Srila Giriraj Swami also quotes the following statement from Sri Harivamsa, spoken by goddess Lakshmi to Lord Balaram. O Lord, please accept as divine ornaments for your ears this single gold earring studded with diamonds, and this primeval lotus called Padma. Kindly accept them, for this act of adornment is traditional. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further points out that goddess Lakshmi is the consort of the Lord's plenary expansion Shankarchan, who belongs to the second Chaturvyuha. So there are so many expansions, on the side of the energetic Shaktiman, and also on the side of the Shakti. And so an expansion of Lakshmi made this offering to the Lord's plenary expansion, Shankarshan. Text 32. Lord Balaram dressed himself in the blue garments and put on the gold necklace. Anointed with fragrances and beautifully adorned, he appeared as resplendent as Indra's royal elephant. Purport. Anointed with sandalwood paste and other pure fragrant substances, Balaram resembled Airavata, the great elephant of Lord Indra. Text 33. Even today, O king, one can see how the Yamuna flows through the many channels created when it was dragged by the unlimitedly powerful Lord Balaram. Thus she demonstrates his prowess. Text 34. Thus for Lord Balaram, all the nights passed like a single night. Wow. All the nights passed like a single night as he enjoyed in Vraja, his mind enchanted by the exquisite charm and beauty of Vraja's young ladies. Purport. Lord Balaram was enchanted by the charming pastimes of the beautiful young ladies of Vraja. Thus, each night was a completely new experience, and all the nights passed as if they were a single night. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 65th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Balaram Visits Vrindavan. One thing I didn't really discuss, although I mentioned in passing that Lord Balaram, at the cost of Krishna's company, left Krishna to return to Vrindavan. The question may be raised, why did Krishna not go along with Balaram? Why did only Balaram go? And the answer, with reference to Shastra, is that Krishna is controlled by love. And the love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna is greater than the love of anyone else. And so the members of the Yadu dynasty were concerned that if Krishna went to Vrindavan, he would not return. And so they prevented him from going to Vrindavan with Balaram because they didn't want to lose him. Oh, Hare Krishna. So on this blessed, auspicious occasion, we've had the opportunity to speak a little about Lord Balaram's visit to Vrindavan and his sporting with his devotees there. And now we can take questions and comments from the assembled devotees. And yes, thank you all for joining us from different parts of the world, different time zones. There's even a devotee named Balaram Das. So please, if you have any questions or comments, raise your hand.
Raj, everyone can actually just unmute themselves if they have a question.
Okay. All right, Manjari. I saw your father raise his hand. Nitai-Gaurasundara, Prabhu? But we can't hear you.
Daddy, unmute yourself.
Yeah, now finally I could unmute Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. So Maharaj, what was the reason Kalindi got bewildered and did not recognize her Lord Balaram?
Oh, well, I mean, the reason was that he appeared to be drunk. And she thought, you know, why do I have to obey this drunken fellow? Yeah, it happens. You know, people can become bewildered by the Lord's appearance. Lord Brahma became bewildered, and he stole the cowherd boys and calves. Lord Indra became bewildered, and he sent devastating rainfall. So it can happen because the Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan are nar lila. That means human-like pastimes, and they can bewilder someone. You know, we have the advantage of seeing through the eyes of the scriptures, Shastra Chaksu says so we don't get bewildered. But, you know, if someone was actually there and witnessing these pastimes, he could become bewildered because they don't, yeah. It's not like Lakshmi Narayan and Vaikuntha where everything is very proper and, you know, that everyone is serving with awe and reverence. Vrindavan is very confidential because of Narlila, human-like pastimes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, we're given access to these divine leelas.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam Madhav Das, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhav Das.
So, Maharaj, I saw in the description that actually Lord Balaram was moving around or compared to the Airavat elephants, and as we understand, Airavat is kind of a Indra. Lord Indra rides Airavat, that's kind of opulence and rides, and he's certainly superior than his elephants, and how his elephants get compared with Lord Balaram, who is way above Indra. So how do we understand this, the comparison?
Yeah, I had the exact same thought when I was reading that passage. But externally, Airavata is very sort of imposing, formidable personality, although an elephant. And so in that sense, Lord Balaram was compared to him. But certainly, Lord Balaram is far greater than Airavata or Indra. But because a lot of comparison was made to elephants bathing in the river, so that's why Airavata was invoked as a topmost elephant.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Wonderful class and wonderful association. Thank you so much. I have one small question. I heard about Lord Krishna leaving the Earth planet, but how did Lord Balarama left Earth planet?
How did he end his pastime?
Yeah. How did he end his pastimes on the Earth planet?
Yeah, I haven't, I don't recall reading that. I mean, there is a description of the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, and it could be that Balaram, as a member of the Yadu dynasty, left in that, but I don't really know. I haven't come across that. And as it is, Srila Prabhupada said that we don't like to dwell on the disappearance pastime.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Govardhan Das, please accept my humble obeisances in lotus feet.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, like Krishna always enjoying with gopis in Vrindavan.
Wait,
So,
can you put on your camera?
actually, Guru Maharaj, I am working from home. So, At the same time, hearing your lectures. That's why.
Okay.
So I'm available on.
Okay.
Actually, I'm unavailable to put my camera
That's okay.
both time.
That's okay.
So my question is, like Krishna always enjoying with gopis in Vrindavan, and same Balram is also have separate gopis with
Yes.
enjoying.
Yes.
So Balram also have separate dham like in Golok Vrindavan, separate place like Krishna.
No, they're together.
Okay.
They're together.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
As we read, there's a separate place where Krishna has his rasa dance, which is some distance from where Krishna. Yeah, there's a separate place where Balaram has his rasa dance, which is some distance from where Krishna has his rasa dance. But it's all Vrindavan, and the same would be true in Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual sky.
But Guru Maharaj, in Vrindavan, where is that place? Balram playing the Ras Leela?
It's called Ramagat, Sri Ramagat.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's a beautiful song we sing, Vrindavan Mahamamrita, and that is Ramagat.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, hearing about this pastimes of Lord Balaram, which I just heard today from you, that how Lord Balaram comes to visit the gopis while Krishna did not visit, shows that Lord Balaram's compassionate nature more than, and that same quality I also have been hearing from you about Lord Nityananda, who is more merciful than Krishna again. And then the same thing with our spiritual master, coming from the line of Lord Balaram, Nityananda, and the spiritual master. They are much more easy, like to remember and to pray to than to being to Krishna. So I'm just wondering, why is Krishna so reserved, kind of like so not kind of easily approachable? And is it that only that the ones who have this knowledge of approaching Krishna through spiritual master or Lord Nityananda or Balaram, only they get the mercy of Krishna? And what about those who don't have this line of understanding, and they are just simply all the time like praying directly to Krishna? So what is their hope?
Well, there's a nice discussion in the Nectar of Devotion about Krishna's compassionate nature. Let me see. Anyway, basically, I think it's better if I read it directly. Okay, so this is from the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22, Qualities of Krishna Further Explained. 22, compassionate. A person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. Very important definition. A person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. Krishna's compassion was exhibited when Grandfather Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, which had been shot through his body. While lying in this position, Bhishma was very anxious to see Krishna, and thus Krishna appeared there. Upon seeing the pitiable condition of Bhishma, Krishna began speaking with tears in his eyes. Not only was he shedding tears, but he also forgot himself in his compassion. Therefore, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. So that it's not that Krishna's not compassionate, he is, but his compassionate nature is represented by Srimati Radharani, and it's easier to approach her. But everything is through parampara. I mean, we don't approach anyone directly, really, but we approach through parampara. Hare Krishna. Jai. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam Madhav Das. Again, just a small comment about that question of compassion. When Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, of course, who can be more compassionate than Krishna? It must be understood. And there are so many examples, even Putana who comes to kill him, but she thought about being mother, although wanted to kill, but he gives him his place, liberation. There are so many examples. So how can Krishna be any less compassionate than any of his expansions? Of course, as he can be approached by his devotees, Radharani, Lord Balaram, but this question doesn't arise that he's less compassionate than Radharani or Lord Balaram and his pure devotees. So I just wanted to share some. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Beautiful. Thank you. What you said is absolutely true. Are there any other questions or comments?
Maharaj, one question. Please accept my humble obeisances at the dust of your lotus feet. Maharaj, sometimes when we read the pastimes of Lord Krishna or Balaram or even hear it, we don't understand it and it goes kind of beyond our understanding. So at that time, what should our mood, or how should we kind of take it inside and, not create any offense?
Well, when the book, The Nectar of Devotion, first came out, I mean, it's quite an advanced book. I mean, it starts on a certain level, describing pure devotional service, which is accessible for us. But then later it goes into some very high topics. And Srila Prabhupada said that when we come to something that we don't understand, we should just read it again and again. So I think that's a good approach. Just read it again and again. And yeah, I mean, the Krishna book, sometimes on this occasion, I've read from the Krishna book. Today I decided to read from the Bhagavatam. But in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada, explains things very carefully so we don't misunderstand. And yeah, we can pray, that we can pray to understand the Lord and his pastimes properly and to avoid making any mistakes or committing any offenses. Yeah. Hi, Krishna. Jai. So if there are no more questions or comments, I have an announcement to make that will bring great joy to Nitai-Gaurasundara Prabhu's heart. And that is that the book has finally arrived in Los Angeles. And it will be immediately shipped out to different locations.
Oh,
Maharaj, is a wonderful book. There should be a movie made out of it.
Yes.
It is as Prabhupada has written Krishna book, you have written Prabhupada book. It is like a compendium to Leelamrit, more access. Prabhupada Leela is just wonderful, Maharaj. And how you devotees have struggled, that's unbelievable, Maharaj. Unbelievable.
Yeah. One of the devotees here got her mother to send 3 copies from India. And I know that Nitai-Gaurasundara Prabhu is so eager, so I sent him one of the 3 copies. So he's ahead of.
Maharaj, I'm reading it every day. It's thrilling.
Nice. All right, well, if we are going to end now, I suggest we conclude by offering Vaishnava Pranam. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, compassion for the fallen conditions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class.
Thank you, Maharaj. It was wonderful.